Good evening and welcome to the Zoom webinar forum with the candidates vying for the Poulsbo City Council, Position 5. This is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kitsap County. My name is Kim Abel and I will be the moderator for this event tonight. The League is proud to be a nonpartisan organization and we do not support or oppose candidates or political parties. The League envisions a community and a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate, which is why we do some of these forums. The questions for tonight's forum have been sourced from the community through the League's website. The candidates will be asked questions that cover a range of topics and issues pertinent to Poulsbo. The candidates participating in this evening's forum are Kevin Sheen and Michael Fitzpatrick. Thank you both for offering your skills and talents in service to your community. You deserve our respect and each other's. So please remember that this is a forum, not a debate. We ask you respond specifically to the provided questions and remain civil to one another. The candidates have been informed of tonight's format, and I'd like to repeat it for the viewers. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to provide an opening statement as well as the same amount of time for each question. Candidates, please be conscious of our viewers and do not go over the 90 seconds. If you do run out of time, you may finish your sentence. If you finish responding to a question before the 90 seconds are up, you are welcome to use your remaining time to address a previous question or clarify a statement. At the end of the forum, each candidate will have 90 seconds to provide a closing remarks. Our timekeeper will keep everyone and everything honest by using her timer. It's an electronic clock, which you can, I think you can see at the top of your screen right now is green, but it will show the seconds counting down, which the candidates can also see. And so with that in the background, we can now get started to our forum, and we will start with opening statements, and we will start with the candidate who will be the first one in ballot order, and then we'll switch so each candidate has a chance to ask or answer first. But with our opening statements, we'll start with you, Mr. Sheen, as you are listed first on our ballots.
Okay, thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting tonight as well. So my overall vision for Poulsbo is to continue to grow and develop an inclusive, diverse, and high quality of life that is reflected daily in our residents here. I want everyone to feel like they belong here and can make a positive impact in more than one way. Poulsbo has invested a lot into me and our own business here in downtown on Front Street, which is A Way with Words, as well as a nonprofit I co-founded in 2022. And now it's in our 4th year, and that is the Poulsbo Film Festival. And because of this, I believe I must continue to invest back into Poulsbo and this community, and that I've gotten to know so well over the last 5 years. Of the last 5 years, I didn't memorize this because I didn't have time. Over the last 5 years of living here as an adult, and this was a great place to grow up as a kid, and I'm glad to return. I graduated here in 2003. I felt that City Council was an opportunity to give back to the city that I love, where I own a home and raise 2 children and share countless memories and moments with my amazing partner and wife, Bettina. I believe this community provides opportunities for all walks of life, and that's something worth nurturing and protecting. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And Michael Fitzpatrick, it's your turn to give us your opening statement.
Good evening, friends, neighbors, voters. My name is Michael Fitzpatrick, and it's a privilege to be a candidate for Poulsbo City Council. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this conversation tonight. I'm an Army veteran. I served 2 tours in Iraq in the mid-2000s. Today, I work as a college philosophy instructor part-time and a cat dad full-time. My years of military service, education, and teaching have afforded me skills, knowledge, and a temperament that would be of use to my fellow citizens. So I'm making myself available to you, ready and willing to serve. I love the city of Poulsbo. My wife Mary and I moved here a few years ago, and we have found Poulsbo to be a beautiful oasis. I am not running for city council on an agenda. I'm not here to impose what I think on you. I'm here to listen and learn and to be someone that anyone in the city can approach and talk to about their needs and concerns. Because I teach philosophy, my strengths include an ability to facilitate discussion, to hear multiple sides of complex issues, and to look for problem-solving opportunities that serve the common good. I'm here to listen to your needs and concerns and to collaborate efficiently and effectively with fellow City Council members on how best to craft policies that benefit the whole community. If having more of these traits on your City Council interests you, then please enlist my service with your vote.
Thank you. All right, now right into the questions. And that means, Mr. Fitzpatrick, you'll get the first one, and we'll just flip that back and forth. So what are a few of your strengths that you bring to the City Council, and how will those interact with the sitting council members?
So I think my strengths, as I alluded to, include having a pretty nonpartisan temperament. I think that my background as a student, as a teacher, as a service member has brought me to a place where I really enjoy being surprised by perspectives that I didn't consider for myself. I enjoy the process of learning, of fact finding, of working with people like the city staff who are experts in different fields and problems that the city is either facing or working on, and bring all that together in a way that then seeks legislation that will benefit the whole community and not just a part of it. So I'm a problem solver, I'm a pragmatist, and I'm somebody that can set aside my own personal needs or agenda to say, for all the different types of people and people groups that make up Poulsbo, what would a good problem solving solution look like for them? Thank you.
Okay. And how about you, Mr. Sheen? Same question.
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, I've had a variety of jobs in my life, and a lot of those the ones that I've kind of felt like I've aligned with most is sort of collaborative experiences, and working together for the common good of like Michael said, a nonpartisan situation where it benefits everybody. But also looking at it through different lenses and perspectives. And, I tend to feel like I embody a lot of empathy for people that I talk to and work with. And I think that's a really cool skill to have. And I think, Michael probably shares that as well with his teachings, but I think, leadership to me, running with the Poulsbo Film Festival. I mean, when you do filmmaking, you kind of start from the scratch of making a script and then building it into something that you have no idea where it's going to go. And I think that's part of my leadership is giving also a platform to people to voice their opinions, and then also listen to that very intently, and basically put it into everyone's different scope and methods and see if that's something that can work. I have relationships with current council members that I feel like everyone's in such a good place right now with their heart and their minds, and that's something that I would like to continue to benefit with or for. Thanks.
You're welcome. We'll go with you on this one first, Mr. Sheen. What have you done to prepare to be a Poulsbo City Council member?
I think preparing for becoming a city council member has started probably the last few years. I would say it's probably relationship building in the community in the city of Poulsbo. Having a business in Poulsbo, a small business, you get to know a lot of different people. You also find yourself at City Hall a lot, talking to folks there. And so you just meet people and you just kind of start to grow relationships that I think are really beneficial. And I've always been one, if you don't agree with somebody, you kind of just talk to them, multiple times to kind of get to a better place. And I've never been one to burn bridges. And so it's like, I don't know, I have a lot of great relationships that I've watered and over the last few years to grow to really great opportunities, which is kind of, I feel like, why I'm here today. And so kind of just spaced on the question a little bit. I'm sorry.
And I chose this time to have a cough.
Yeah.
But
This is live, right?
if you have anything else you wanted to add in your last little bit here about what you've done to prepare to be council member.
So yes, building those relationships, being in the area, talking to families, parents, small businesses, building, a lot of different relationships, but also, um, I'm going to close it out right there because I got 2 seconds left. So yeah.
That's great. No problem. How about you, Mr. Fitzpatrick?
So there's a few things that I think have been leading me to a role like this. The first is I teach political philosophy as part of my college service, and I teach for a junior college. And that has given me the opportunity to talk about what we should be doing at the national, state, and local level with my students. It'd be nice to move from the theoretical to the practical and start putting some of those ideas into practice. So local governance is something I've been thinking about professionally for some time. More local to Poulsbo, I've been attending city council meetings, either virtually or in person, trying to understand the process of city council, the conversations they have, what kinds of public comments they receive, what types of projects they're currently working on. And then lastly, I'd say the most important thing has been getting to know my neighbors and fellow citizens throughout Poulsbo over the last few years. My wife and I are working class people. We are renters here in Poulsbo. We would like to buy a home and currently find ourselves unable to do so. And been talking with a lot of friends and neighbors who are in similar situations, problem solving with them. And so I'd like to be a voice for all the people that I've gotten to know since we moved here to bring their concerns to the council.
All right, thank you. So what issues have you heard from voters as you have prepared yourself for city council and maybe been out there campaigning? Which of the ones you've heard are the ones you bring forward to the full council if you're elected? And we'll start there with Mr. Fitzpatrick.
So there are a lot of things on people's minds, but the two issues that tend to always come to the surface in any conversations are the future for downtown Poulsbo, the waterfront area, the businesses, concerns about traffic, about parking, about the tourism industry and its future. So I think it's clear that this community is seeing a lot of change, and there are people who want to make sure that the city council is building the infrastructure and making policy decisions in the downtown area that are going to ensure that the things that make this a great place to live and visit are preserved, not just for the next few years, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And then the other issue is population growth overall. Poulsbo is a growing city. There are a lot of people who are now leaving Tacoma and Seattle areas and moving this way. And that is affecting the cost of housing. That's affecting building. I'm hearing people concerned about the preservation of our forests, the impacts on 305 in terms of traffic levels. So these are all issues that the city council needs to continue to address, and I'd be a voice for making sure that that's where our focus is.
All right. And Mr. Sheen, how about you on that question?
Yeah, 100% agree with Michael on affordable housing or just housing that's not affordable because homes do cost a lot these days and a lot of people do want to move here. And so there is a balance of figuring out how that growth is going to look in the next, decade or so. But downtown is a big one. And people ask me that all the time, especially because I have a business downtown on Front Street, and they talk about parking, they talk about signage, they talk about how to keep it cool, how to keep people coming. And there's a balance there between locals versus tourists. I think a lot of folks come out in the off season who live here who want to come down finally when there's actual parking to enjoy all the businesses, the restaurants and things like that. Part of being in the film fest, we do encourage, a lot of economic growth. People are concerned about that, but I like it's a basic word, but I really like the word cool. Why do you want to be downtown? Why do you want to be in that area? It's cool, and we want to keep it that way, but it is hard because then all these people do want to be here. So development is also tricky. Um, People have brought up seniors, how to engage seniors more, youth, how to engage youth. So like young folks, older folks. Somebody mentioned a roller rink to me the other day, and I was like, Poulsbo Village, maybe there's a space there now. I know it's Halloween spirit currently, and I know, Rite Aid is gone. We need a big space for that. That's a thought. Thank you.
How, so we'll start with Mr. Sheen on this. What do you see as your role as a city council member?
That is a good question. How I see it sort of is it's a balance of it's balancing, I guess, residents' opinions, their concerns about the community, hearing everybody, as kind of Michael alluded to earlier, really kind of listening as well as you can to everybody's concerns and whatnot, and balancing that, and then kind of enacting policy that makes the best sense for that situation. And that's part of it. I think that's probably a basic part of it, but also being in the community. I think it's just being active, showing up for things. Even if you just say hello at an event, or if you make time to go do something and talk to people around town, I think they see that and it adds up, and it kind of shows that you care and that you see them. And I guess like kind of also having just like a door that's always open, kind of just being available to the citizens and always listening to folks, and then bringing that to the table at City Hall, and speaking genuinely about what people's concerns are. I think sometimes you can turn your brain off a little bit and still listen, but it's like you have to have active listening, which I think, is important, and people recognize that too.
All right. Mr. Fitzpatrick, it's your turn on that question.
I very much concur with everything that Kevin said. City council exists to serve two functions locally: legislation and representation. So city council makes the local laws, and council is also the people who serve you. And if I was a council member, my responsibility would be to be available to you, to be somebody who would sympathetically listen to your needs and concerns. But I do think that city council also needs to expand its leadership role. The United States as a whole has sort of gravitated towards more and more far away governance, whether it's at the state level or the national level. And I really think that's a mistake, because that means that politicians who don't really know the local communities and issues as well are making the decisions. I think we need to see more decision making happening at the local level, and a more expanded responsibility for local city councils. And I'd like to encourage that if I were on the council. And the other thing is, I think council members should be more accessible and more relatable and less intimidating. An idea that I've had if I was on the council is instigating something like city council time at local coffee shops, where one or two council members are just hanging out, sipping a beverage, with a big sign up that says, "Hey, I'm on city council, come talk to me." And then that way people can have more face time than public comment.
Thank you. All right. This is, you guys are so good. You knew what my next question was going to be. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, you get this. How do you plan to keep or increase citizen input into council matters?
Yeah, as I just suggested, I really do think there needs to be a lot less intimidation between the city council and the people. The public comment opportunities at city council meetings are very intimidating. You're on camera, you're in a formal environment, you only have 3 minutes. I think there needs to be more casual, conversational, and colloquial spaces for interacting with the city council. And that, I think, means that even during a city council person's term, they should still be going house to house talking to people. Like, I really enjoy these conversations. I really enjoy getting to know people. And that shouldn't stop just after somebody gets elected. That should continue ongoing. And then I think taking advantage of Front Street, of the many amazing places we have down there. The SIP just went in. The SIP is such a great place to just hang out for a few hours. And so again, I would be somebody, whether or not I could get other council members to do so, who'd have a sign up that says, "Hey, I'm on city council, come talk to me." And the more we regularize that, the more people will feel that they can be involved in the decision-making process of the council. The last thing I'd say is I think there are some things that the council and the city staff do that are mysterious to people. Decisions get made, people don't know how they got made. I think we could do with a little bit more transparency in some of those processes.
All right. And how about you, Mr. Sheen?
That was a great setup there, Michael, for this next thing. I think it would benefit the city. I mean, having a PR person at the city too, that's potentially full time. I mean, press releases, marketing, communications, things like that that go out that I think would benefit all of our residents. You know, just clear communication on things. Whether or not they want to read it is up to them, but having it be accessible. And they may already do a lot of that. I know they probably do. I just feel like sometimes I wonder if there could be even more additional communication. And then, yeah, I was thinking the same thing too about just making yourself available. There's so many great spots. I mean, Cocina is a great opportunity too. It's like they have that upper deck now that folks can go up to and hang out, and that's got lots of space. I know the weather's changing, but there's umbrellas. Or even like Western Red. I mean, it's like I like beer. There's a lot of great breweries around here, and like I'm sure you could drum up some council members to go do that for an evening, even for just an hour. I think a lot of people. I think we should get back into just like drop-ins and like figuring out like it doesn't have to be a formula or anything. It's just sort of come by, have a quick conversation, just kind of like exactly like this, like something fluid, and then they can kind of just feel like they were seen or heard or felt like this is a community that is very open.
Great. All right. So we're going to get a little more nitty gritty, not bigger picture here. So well, I guess it's still bigger picture. What particular area or areas would you like to be part of as a council member? So working with downtown merchants, local human support systems, part of regional planning groups, or something else. And so you get to start with that, Mr. Sheen. Tell us where you want to make a difference.
Okay. Areas for me, I think just based on my background, I was kind of thinking about this a little bit. It's all I've been a part of Historic Downtown Poulsbo Association because we have a business down there, and so that's just part of it. And we've had Gary McVeigh, Councilmember McVeigh, as a liaison, and he, and as well as Britt Livedall, and so it's nice to be able to talk about downtown, and then their city council is represented there, to hear all these things that are going on. I think that is an opportunity because I already have a lot of established relationships, so downtown makes a lot of sense. I also, it's hard because Poulsbo Film Festival does, request funds for LTAC, but lodging tax is so important for the economic development and just how things are staying relevant in our area. And so that's something I'm also really interested in, is creating avenues for future economic development, whether it's like nightlife. I heard even like someone was talking about, the college town aspect with Western Washington University and Olympic College and creating what can we do there to drum up some business. So events, getting people here, marketing in general on TikTok and Instagram and social media is like really important. So I find that to be something that will always be important, especially if you want to stay on top of things and being current.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, I'm going to ask you that same question. Do you want me to repeat it or are you good?
I'm good, thank you. So there's kind of three areas that I definitely want to invest in as a council member. The first is city planning. I really think we need a more aggressive approach to housing here, one that's going to require collaboration with the county and the state, because housing is a nationwide issue, not just a local issue, but we still have a responsibility to solve it locally. And as part of that, I really do think that the city needs to look at expanding the franchise and expanding our incorporation. There's a lot of people with a Poulsbo address who are not actually incorporated into the city. And I think that would make a big difference in terms of resources available to the city and the tax base. Secondly, Parks and Rec. I really care about nature, trees, keeping this area wild, and living in a way that respects the wildlife here. Just about every time I drive anywhere now, I see dead raccoons by the side of the road. We need to start living with our critters in a more sustainable and friendly way. And then the last thing is, I grew up in a community that was biracial. We had poor white community and Karuk Indians, and it was a really great opportunity to get to know them. So I'd love to have more opportunities to liaison with our local tribal communities and figure out how Poulsbo can better serve them.
All right, great. So we'll go with you first on this, Mr. Fitzpatrick. So council sets city policy and adopts the budget for the mayor and the staff to execute. What would be some of your budget priorities as a council member?
Well, items related to housing. I mean, that's going to be a kind of constant refrain tonight. So looking at the building process. I mean, Poulsbo already has a really strong reputation as being a building-friendly community, but figuring out the ways in which that process is too onerous or too expensive for first-time buyers, and how the city is using its fees processes and its tax base in ways that are not helpful to young families. And then related to that, I do think that, well, I lost my train of thought. Let me try to come back there. I had two thoughts there, and then I lost the other one. City utilities, sorry. City utilities are an important part of a working class family's budgeting. And every 6 months to a year, they're going up, and they're going up substantially. And so I think the city really needs to figure out how its policies are going to be sustainable in the long term for working class families.
Thank you. All right. How about you, Mr. Sheen? What are would be some of your budget priorities?
Yeah, I would start to, we're a small family. There are general concerns about daily life things, utilities, obviously, mortgage, gas, groceries. I mean, looking at that budgetary wise is important. How it reflects for the city, it's like, still learning that out about that. Like, it's kind of hard to like totally answer this, but that would be one thing. Obviously, affordable housing in general, like Nordic cottages might come up later on, but I think like if we could figure out if the city can budget almost a very similar plan to what they just did and do that again, but maybe include some studio apartments or other, low income housing that, people can apply for there. That's just more. Once again, that's land usage, and that's a lot of other things to look through. Other budget things that you could even, I don't know. I know that the perk is going in, the fields and whatnot up by Walmart. Is that right? In that area, I wonder if senior center situation. I don't know what that looks like as well. I just know that a lot of folks might be interested in something that has more consistent programming, and I don't know how you would budget that in, but that is something to consider too.
All right, great. So this is you guys whoever gets elected will come into a kind of a different situation where you'll have a new part-time mayor and a city administrator, which is not what the council they've had a full-time mayor and a city administrator for a short time. How do you envision working under the new system as a new city council member? And we'll start with you, Mr. Sheen.
Well, firstly, this is, that's a newer thing that I don't know too much about, so I can't, fully answer that maybe in some of the way that the voters think or would like. But overall, I'm really good at asking questions and learning on the job. And that's kind of sort of going to be the way I think it's going to have to work with Rob Gelder. I have met him. He's very bright and he's unloaded a lot of information on me all at once. You can kind of see why people maybe don't always want to run for city council or do these types of positions because it's a lot to take on. Whoever ends up in the mayor role, I trust based on what I've discussed with Rob Gelder, he seems like his best interests are in the city, and it also is like leaning on people who are experts, sort of like Michael was referring to earlier, is people at the city. They're really good at their jobs, and I think we're just there to sort of ask questions and kind of feel like, well, learn the process, and especially coming into it as a new person with really no prior experience in this realm, is sort of like, okay, learn about it, ask questions, and then it's like, well, maybe change the process or figure out why they do it a certain way. But I have no doubt that I can ask the right people for those answers.
All right. How about you, Mr. Fitzpatrick, on that question?
I agree with Kevin and his comments about Rob. Rob is not only one of the nicest people, but probably one of the most competent people I've ever met. So I think the city is in really good hands, and the city staff has been excellent in everything that I've interacted with them on. So I'm the son of a government employee. My dad worked for the California Department of Transportation for 38 years, and one of the things I learned from him is that government never has enough employees. They always have people doing 2 or 3 different jobs. And so I think one thing would be working with Rob to learn from him really what his long-term vision is for the staff and how the staff could be resourced better, maybe hire more people so that they can excel at the jobs that they're doing. And as far as the part-time mayor goes, this is a guess because I have not actually talked to any other city council persons about this, but my assumption would be that maybe that would be opportunities for city council members to do more of the public-facing activities in addition to the mayorship, since it's not a full-time position anymore. So I would expect maybe more division of labor across the council than everything sort of falling on the mayor's lap. But I'm not sure if that's just a speculation or the way it would go.
All right. Thank you. I think you've both touched on this, but parking and sidewalks in downtown have come up in multiple questions from the community, and solutions have been proposed by the city. Would you continue to support the existing plans or offer additional ideas? And what might some of those be if that's the case? And I'm sorry to say the person did not say what the plans were, but so that is what I wish I could answer that for you. I could see that in your eyes. But what do you think what you've heard about makes sense? And do you have other ideas? Go ahead, Mr. Fitzpatrick, you're first.
Well, I suspect Kevin can speak a lot more thoughtfully to this as somebody who has to live with the parking situation in the downtown area. So I will say that I have 2 thoughts on parking for the downtown area. One is that I'm not particularly sympathetic to the paid parking proposal. I don't really see how that's going to improve the situation. I've already been hearing from some senior citizens who live close to the downtown area but are too old to walk down there. And so it's really helpful for them to drive down. And they're feeling like the paid parking is going to be a deterrent for them enjoying the downtown area. So I think not having paid parking would be a start. We could look at something like having permits for businesses down there so that they can have guaranteed places for parking, something like that. But the rest I think should stay open. And what we need to do is expand the parking options. And the only sustainable way to do this, I know it's expensive, but is to have an underground parking option, something that doesn't ruin the beauty of the city, but greatly expands the parking volume. So I'd be pretty supportive of some kind of plan to look at bringing an underground parking garage to the downtown area to help with the flow of traffic.
All right. And how about you, Mr. Sheen?
Um, this is a big one. It's continuous, you know. I think I go back and forth on a lot of things. First off, it's a really good problem to have. Once again, you know, downtown it's a sought after attraction. People love to go down there, so it's a good problem. You know, a lot of downtowns don't have that. One way to think about it, and people have brought this up a lot, is figuring out a kind of shuttle service where there is a parking kind of off-site where people can park. It's free. And then they get shuttled in, and that happens, you know, it could happen every day during the summer. It could happen just maybe on the weekends. So that is an option too. The paid thing, it makes a hybrid situation makes some sense. I think what is the concern is just creating a turnover for people, you know, because right now it's not really regulated, and so like people park for an hour, but they really park for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 hours. And right, like what Michael said is there are a lot of employees, and I want to say thank you so much to all of the businesses who have employees and are hiring so many young folks and stuff to have jobs, and it's really awesome. But it is difficult to find places for them because we have to drive a lot around out here. Like it's hard to not have a car. And so that is one thing, is if figuring out a lot, which is in process right now of happening, and we all get permits for that. And it is free as long as it's available. You can park there and then walk to work. So that is an option. So it's, once again, it's downtown is cool. So it makes it challenging.
All right. I'm sure you guys will hear more about parking, maybe not tonight, but while you're campaigning. The Poulsbo community, and I think I'm going to say, the Poulsbo community has discussed at least 3 needs for the city of Poulsbo. This is from one of our questioners: a civic auditorium, adequate facilities for seniors, and more sports facilities. Do you believe any of these should be a top priority, and what could be a solution for making that come into being? And Mr. Sheen, you get to go first.
What was the first one? I'm sorry.
A civic auditorium, adequate facilities for seniors, and more sports facilities. So those were the 3
Okay.
that the questioner put on their question. So.
Well, okay. I think, well, first, I used to work in the city of Shoreline. I didn't really work for the city, but I had a contract with them, with their nonprofit that I work with there. And then we worked right next to a really great senior center. And we would program with them all the time. We would actually use their space to do, like, you know, they're not paint and sips. Well, they're paint and sips, but you know, the seniors would have coffee or whatever and tea and stuff. It wasn't not wine or things like that. But they would be able, you know, I'm sure they wanted that, but they would be able to just paint and then like have really great programming that we helped with. But they had a really great facility that was open basically from like 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. And it was just always active. They had a workout room, they had a multi-use room. I think of those 3 things that you mentioned, like an auditorium, art center, or even more sports facilities. Like I really agree with, like, I love tournaments and sports tournaments. I think that brings a lot of business to Poulsbo and the area, and a lot of newcomers who come here from out of town might see it and they're like, this is amazing. But I think for seniors, which we have a lot of seniors here, I think it would be amazing to figure that out. How we do it, once again, is I think, you know, with the perk that's being installed, is there a way to budget for that or figure out an opportunity? But there is a senior center in downtown Poulsbo. I don't know what the accessibility is like for that. But and the Parks and Rec does have programming. I'm not saying nothing's happening. I'm just saying that might be one of the bigger ones to look at.
All right. And how about you, Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, I've heard from quite a few of my neighbors who are retirees that they are not big fans of the senior center in the downtown area. I haven't heard anybody talk about a civic auditorium, so I don't really have a perspective on that. I'd have to give that some thought, but I am a big fan of improving facilities for seniors, and I would say sporting facilities. Those are related for me. What I really think we need is an intergenerational space. Kevin mentioned Poulsbo Village earlier. I live next door to Poulsbo Village, and I've been eyeballing that space for a while, thinking, that's the kind of space that would be the opportunity for the kind of facility that would offer absolutely a great space for seniors to go, but something with intergenerational opportunities where we can have families, young people, and senior citizens all mingling together. I mean, one of the biggest problems communities are facing right now is loneliness. People who are isolated, who don't have strong community networks, and we need spaces where we can build those. So I would love to get behind a project like that. And I will say the Pickleball Kingdom just moved into Poulsbo. I think a project like that's great. It's a little expensive, so maybe having opportunities where the city could maybe subsidize memberships for lower income families or something like that to get them involved. That'd be nice.
All right. So short-term housing rentals are in essence conducting a commercial business in a residential zone. And so do you have any thoughts about limiting the uses of homes as short-term rentals? And we'll start with you, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Quick clarification, you by that they mean something like an Airbnb type setup?
Yeah. Something that's less than a month, probably. Yeah, by short-term.
I have not given this a lot of thought, to be honest, but I do think that well, I would not speak to a policy matter on this because I prefer to not speak about an issue unless I've learned something about it first. So if that issue was brought to me as a council member, my decision would be to go to the city planning team and to look at the hard data of what are the short-term lodging needs of Poulsbo for the tourism industry versus the long-term housing needs of residents and see whether or not people using their house or their ADU units for Airbnbs is an actual problem that needs solving. I prefer to have data-driven problems and data-driven solutions. So I'm not at all disputing this person's question. It might actually be a problem. I just don't know, and I would want to look at the data and make my position on the issue dependent on that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sheen?
Yeah, I'll kind of mirror Michael a little bit on that one as well. That hasn't really been something that I've thought about or has been presented to me as an issue. I know several people around here who do rent out their homes and spaces for Airbnb and whatnot. I do know that, and partly because, we have so many people come in from out of town for like the film festival or events throughout the year that really like if the hotels get booked up, or I mean, Hotel Scandia, I know is like that one's really hard to get, especially on a weekend, because it's right downtown. It's awesome. Then it's like Airbnb's become an alternative too, and there's a lot of beautiful ones out here. So in terms of that versus long-term renting, obviously I want people to have opportunities to do both. It's just sort of I know it's like when I was looking at renting an apartment out here, it was very hard. When I first moved back out here, it was like, okay, it's really hard to find a single bedroom, but I mean, I'm not going to rent an Airbnb for multiple months. So yeah, that can't really speak too much more on that, but I totally would understand that to be a concern, especially if speaking to that person in person about it.
Thank you. All right. This will be for Mr. Sheen first. Do you see the need for a code enforcement officer? The question writer mentions that the city has been without one for 10 years, and there are concerns that buildings and developments may be non-compliant with city code.
Oh, I would say I'm sorry, there hasn't been one for how long?
The question writer cited 10 years.
Oh, well, I think that is a question for Rob Gelder initially for me, just to go directly to him and planning. But I would say, yeah, that would probably be something very wise to at least revisit and see what the disconnect was or why there hasn't been one for 10 years. But unfortunately, I can't speak more to it than that, other than let's kind of try to abide by the rules and have some kind of structure, I suppose.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, similarly, I'm not aware of that as an issue, but I do think that the city probably in general needs more enforcement for local code and policies, not just building codes, but in other areas of the city's responsibility. Our city staff is pretty small. Earlier, Kevin was talking about parking in the downtown area. We don't have dedicated parking enforcement staff. So, yeah, there's a need for a lot of enforcement. But I would add that if I were to support adding a code enforcement officer or any type of expansion of our enforcement personnel, for me, I'd want that to be tied to a mostly non-punitive system by the city, where what we're trying to do is help people follow the law, not punish them for not following the law. And it should be that people are not afraid to come to the city staff and say, here's what I got. Am I within code? Because if they're not within code, they'll find people who want to help them get up to code and they're not intimidated. So I'm not suggesting anybody is intimidated. I'm just saying that I am the kind of person that I really want people to see their city as an asset and not something to be feared.
Thank you. All right, this will be our last question, the next one before closing statements. And it's kind of it's a good culmination question. The question is, cultural heritage is very important in Poulsbo. As Poulsbo continues to grow, how do you see maintaining a sense of community? And Mr. Fitzpatrick, you get to go first on this one.
Well, Poulsbo is blessed to have a lot of local activities that happen throughout the year that are community driven, community funded in many cases. And as from the city council's point of view, the primary role has been, get out of the way and make sure that the city's not being an obstacle to these things happening. I think there's probably room for the city to also be an instigator for some cultural opportunities. And there's been conversations about maybe giving more opportunities for the tribe to express culture within the city, or maybe having a city instigated 4th of July celebration, something like that. I'm in favor of all those things. The biggest thing that I would add is city events really need to be more intergenerational in terms of their leadership. We really need to be looking forward to the future of not just who has these as passion projects now, but who can we be bringing on board for taking over these passion projects for the future. And that's really how cultural heritage gets sustained, is by passing it down from one generation to another. So I'd love to see more intergenerational mentorship, people who have shepherded these events for years and years, passing them on to the next generation.
All right. And how about you, Mr. Sheen?
Yeah, I think, Poulsbo has so much going for it. Once, just to kind of reiterate what Michael said, which is really, it's amazing. It's one of those things where it's like, why did I come back here after all these years being away? I lived in Seattle and Olympia, and those are great places, but I was like, man, Poulsbo is still just so amazing to be a part of. And part of that is the events, the community aspect. Yeah, I mean, the heritage here is important. We have people come in our shop all the time asking, like, well, what's the deal with, like, why do you call it Little Norway? And, like, but then there's also the indigenous aspect too, which is something that I think we need to take more seriously and create those opportunities too, and relationships and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, passing things down and like having knowledge, and like if it's been done by like one person, let's just say like, Viking Fest, it's like you have to like move things along and create. I mean, same with things, Poulsbo Film Festival. It's like I don't want to do this forever, although it's getting to a point where it's like that's like a sustainable event and like it's really awesome and I'd like to see it keep going, but I don't want to do it forever. Like it's really exhausting. But that's the cool thing is that when you build such an amazing community like this, people just expect that to happen and they want it, but then when it's gone, it is a conversation to have. Or if it's on, perhaps potentially being removed, they get concerned about it and they should. So, but that's just it's such a positive thing that we have going for us.
All right. Well, we're getting close to the end here, so we'll move to closing remarks, and we'll start with you, Mr. Sheen. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you again to League of Women Voters for hosting this. I really was excited to be here, a little nervous. Like I said, this is, isn't something you do every day. But once again, I got into this because I love Poulsbo so much and I want the best for everybody. And I think listening to Michael for the first time tonight talk, we met each other just pre-game before we got on here. He seems like a really lovely human, and I think you can't go wrong with either of us, put it that way. So thank you, Michael, for stepping up too for the city and being a part of our community. Once again, I love the arts, I love culture, I love events, I love economic development and growth. And I like being relevant and just doing cool things and pushing yourselves to be yourself. And that Poulsbo is a really cool place because it offers a lot of opportunity. There are so many entrepreneurs here that have done so many cool things and that continue to really push the envelope and just involve so many different aspects of what we can do creatively together. And it's something I want to be a part of. And I hope the best for the rest of for Michael and I for the rest of this campaign. And if you vote for me, I will put my best foot forward and I will represent this city the best way that I can. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, your 90 seconds of closing remarks.
Thanks for your questions and time this evening, and thanks to everyone who watches the recording of this conversation. As I mentioned in the Q&A, my father worked for Caltrans for 38 years, and growing up, I was able to see the gift that public service was to him as he ensured that everyone had safe, high-quality roads to drive on. Each generation has to take up the mantle of public service, and now it's my turn to look for opportunities to serve my neighbors and fellow citizens. So I'm offering myself as a candidate for City Council so that I might be able to return in gratitude all that has been invested in me by others. In closing, I'd like to add a couple reasons you may want me on your council. First, I am a genuine nonpartisan. I've been an independent voter for most of my life. I'm here to serve everyone, not just those who agree with me. And second, my wife and I are a working class family here in town. We struggle with the cost of living. We're anxious to find a home that we can afford to buy. I think it's important to have working class people serving in government, making decisions, because the best way to ensure that government solves problems for all of us is if the people serving in government share those problems. I agree with everything Kevin said. He sounds like a wonderful human being. We're not running against each other. We're just offering ourselves for service. So whether you vote for me or not, I look forward to serving you and working to build a strong Poulsbo for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kevin Sheen and Michael Fitzpatrick, you have the League of Women Voters of Kitsap. Thanks for being part of this forum this evening and for offering your expertise to the city of Poulsbo. And we want to thank audience and community members for participating in representative democracy by listening and learning more about the candidates on your ballot. And in fact, the League is also hosting the Poulsbo Mayor Candidates in-person forum next Thursday night at October 2nd at 7 p.m. At the Poulsbo City Hall, and all are welcome, and you can attend virtually or come in person, as I mentioned. So, and all of the League's forums are recorded, and links to the videos will be soon on our website at www.lwv-kitsap.org. And so I hope you will be sure that you vote. Ballots will be out in 3 weeks. And then you just have 18 days to vote. So don't forget to get that ballot in. And I hope that you will all encourage others to learn about the candidates. And then especially, I'm going to say it again, vote. Thanks again. And we appreciate all of you both stepping forward. Have a good evening now. Good night.